Ever wondered what lies beneath the surface of a seemingly perfect gift? Join Sylvia on a thrilling journey as she unravels the dark secrets of a cursed gemstone, battling ancient evils and personal demons to protect those she loves. From eerie visions to dramatic rituals, The Curse of the Gem is a tale of mystery, suspense, and the power of one woman's determination to conquer the unknown. Edna Cross, a woman of middle age with an air of superiority and a perpetually disdainful expression, was seated in her luxurious living room. The afternoon sun filtered through the lace curtains, casting a play of light and shadow on the polished, wooden floor. Spread across her lap was a freshly delivered newspaper, and her sharp, critical eyes scanned the pages with a mix of interest and disdain. As she flipped through the sections, an article in the local news caught her attention. The headline read, "Local psychic Sylvia Cross amazes community with her extraordinary abilities." Edna felt a pang of something akin to envy as she began to read the article. The reporter detailed how Sylvia, Edna's niece, had gained fame and respect in her city for her astonishing psychic abilities. Stories of people finding answers to their deepest problems, of lost items recovered, and of lives changed for the better thanks to Sylvia's readings and advice were highlighted. The community adored her, and her reputation was growing by the day. And it also highlighted Sylvia's last case of the serial killer boyfriend of a bride-to-be. Edna read every word, her expression growing more bitter with each sentence. "This girl has a gift," a neighbor was quoted as saying. "She's brought so much light and hope into our lives. I don't know what we'd do without her." Edna scoffed, folding the newspaper with a sharp gesture. "What nonsense," she muttered to herself. "People are so gullible. Any silly story about psychic powers and suddenly, you're some kind of local hero." But beneath her disdain, Edna felt a prick of envy and hatred. There had always been an unspoken competition between her and Sylvia, a rivalry that dated back to Sylvia's mother. Edna, with her manipulative nature and desire for control, had seen Sylvia as a threat to her own importance. Now, reading about Sylvia's success and the admiration she received, Edna felt a wave of resentment. "Why her?" Edna wondered, her voice a bitter whisper. "Why does everyone adore and admire her? What does she have that I don't?" Edna knew she had skills, that she was intelligent and cunning, but it seemed that none of that mattered compared to Sylvia's powers. As she sat there, brooding over her envy, an idea began to take shape in her mind. She remembered the blue tear of Isolde, the precious gemstone that had been in her family for generations. It was said to be cursed, bringing misery and misfortune to those who possessed it. Edna had felt its dark power, and while the gem had affected her, it had also made her feel powerful, as if she held the reins. With a malicious smile, Edna made a decision. If she couldn't have the admiration and respect that Sylvia received, then she would do everything in her power to take it away. And what better way to do that than by sending the cursed gemstone to Sylvia, knowing it could destroy her happiness and reputation? With an act of malice, Edna rose from her chair and went to her desk, where she took out an elegant box, placed the gem in it, wrapped the blue tear of Isolde in velvet, and placed it in the box. She sealed the box and wrote Sylvia's address on the front. Then she called for a messenger to deliver it, ensuring there was no trace of her in the shipment. As the messenger took the box, Edna sat back down in her chair, a smile of satisfaction playing on her lips. "Let the show begin," she murmured to herself, imagining the confusion and pain her gift would bring to Sylvia. In the days that followed, Edna kept tabs on the local gossip, eagerly awaiting news of the gemstone and its impact on Sylvia. She envisioned Sylvia struggling with horrifying visions, losing control of her powers, and ultimately falling from grace. The idea filled her with malicious glee. Maybe now people will see that she's not so special after all, Edna thought, her smile widening. Maybe now they'll understand that her powers are nothing compared to true power and manipulation. Edna knew she was playing a dangerous game, but she didn't care. The envy and resentment she felt towards Sylvia consumed her, and she was willing to do anything to see her fall. As she waited for news, she reveled in her plan, feeling that she finally had the control she so desperately craved. The moon cast an eerie glow through Sylvia's bedroom window, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. She thrashed in her sleep, her forehead beaded with sweat as she gripped the sheets tightly. Her nightmare was vivid and unsettling. She saw her great-aunt Edna, her eyes cold and malicious, laughing maniacally as she held out a stunning blue gemstone. "Take it, Sylvia," Edna cackled. "Let it bring you the misery it has brought me." Sylvia jolted awake, her heart pounding wildly. In her chest, she sat up, her breath coming in ragged gasps as she looked around her room, disoriented and frightened. The remnants of the dream clung to her, leaving her with a sense of foreboding. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing heart, and swung her legs over the side of the bed. Morning came, and Sylvia felt exhausted. She didn't sleep well after the nightmare. As she padded downstairs to make herself a cup of tea, the doorbell rang, its sharp sound echoing through the quiet house. Sylvia paused, her hand on the banister, a sense of unease washing over her. She wasn't expecting any visitors, and the timing seemed almost too coincidental after her dream. She made her way to the door, her footsteps slow and cautious. Standing on her doorstep was a delivery man holding a small, elegantly wrapped box. "Delivery for Sylvia Cross," he said, his voice neutral and professional. Sylvia signed for the package, her heart pounding with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. As the delivery man left, she closed the door and carefully unwrapped the box. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, was a stunning gemstone. It was a deep, vibrant blue, with facets that sparkled even in the dim light of her hallway. She gasped, her fingers trembling as she reached out to touch it. There was no sender information on the package, adding to the mystery. Sylvia's mind raced as she tried to figure out who could have sent her such an exquisite and clearly valuable gift. Her great-aunt Edna's face flashed through her mind, and she shuddered, a chill running down her spine. Sylvia took the gemstone out of the box, feeling its smooth, cool surface. She was captivated by its beauty, but also felt a sense of unease. Something about this gemstone felt off. She looked at it more closely, her psychic senses tingling with a warning she couldn't ignore. "Beautiful, isn't it?" a voice echoed, in her mind, startling her. She looked around, but there was no one there. The voice seemed to come from the gem itself, and it sent a shiver down her spine. Sylvia took a deep breath, trying to shake off the unsettling feeling. She decided to take the gemstone upstairs to her room, where she could examine it more closely, in the light. As she climbed the stairs, she couldn't shake the sense that this gemstone was more than it seemed, a beautiful facade hiding a dark and dangerous secret. She placed the gemstone on her bedside table and sat down on her bed, her eyes never leaving the sparkling blue stone. She reached out with her psychic senses, trying to gauge the energy emanating from it. What she felt sent a wave of unease washing over her. The gemstone pulsed with a dark, malevolent energy, unlike anything she had ever encountered. Sylvia's initial fascination with the gemstone began to give way to a growing sense of dread. She knew she had to find out more about this mysterious gift and the true nature of the power it held. Little did she know, her life was about to take a dramatic and dangerous turn, one that would test the limits of her psychic abilities and her courage. That night, as Sylvia lay in bed, she couldn't shake off the feeling of unease. She held the gemstone in her hand, staring at its mesmerizing depths. Suddenly, her vision blurred, and she was transported to another time and place. She saw a wealthy man, his eyes wild with greed, holding the same gemstone. He was surrounded by opulent surroundings, but his expression was one of sheer terror. Sylvia could feel his fear, his desperation. He was trying to hide the gemstone, but something, or someone, was after it. The scene shifted to a dark, damp dungeon. A woman, her clothes torn and dirty, was chained to a wall. She clutched the gemstone to her chest, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and resolve. Sylvia could hear her whispers. "It's cursed. It brings only misery and death." Sylvia's vision changed again, this time to a bustling market. A merchant was showing the gemstone to potential buyers, his eyes gleaming with avarice. But as he handled it, his expression turned to one of agony. He clutched his chest and collapsed, the gemstone rolling away from his lifeless hand. Sylvia gasped, her vision clearing as she found herself back in her bedroom, the gemstone still clutched in her hand. She was shaken, her heart racing from the intensity of the visions. She knew she had to find out more about this gemstone and its curse. The next day, Sylvia visited the local library, her mind racing with questions. She spent hours poring over ancient texts and dusty tomes, searching for any mention of the gemstone. The librarian, an elderly woman with a kind face, watched Sylvia with a mix of curiosity and concern. "Can I help you find something, dear?" she asked softly. Sylvia looked up, her eyes determined. "I'm looking for information on a gemstone. It's a deep blue, very rare. I think it might be cursed." The librarian's eyes widened slightly, but she nodded. "There are a few books on gemstones and curses. Let me show you where they are." Sylvia followed her to a secluded corner of the library, where she was directed to a shelf filled with old leather-bound books. She spent the rest of the day reading, taking notes, and trying to piece together the gemstone's history. She discovered that the gemstone was known as the Blue Tear of Isolde, named after a legendary queen who was said to have worn it. The gem was believed to bring good fortune to those who possessed it, but only if their intentions were pure. Those with impure thoughts or evil intentions would face dire consequences. Sylvia also found references to the gemstone bringing misfortune and death to its owners. She read stories of kings losing their thrones, lovers torn apart, and families destroyed, all because of the blue tear. As Sylvia delved deeper into her research, she uncovered a surprising connection. The gemstone had been in her family for generations, passed down through the women in her lineage. Her great-aunt Edna, a woman known for her bitterness and envy, had been the last to possess it. Sylvia remembered the stories her mother had told her about Edna, the way she would sabotage her siblings' happiness, her relentless pursuit of wealth and status, and her deep-seated resentment towards anyone who found joy or success. Edna had always disliked Sylvia, seeing her as a threat to her own importance. Sylvia's mother had often warned her about Edna's manipulative ways, but Sylvia had never fully understood the extent of her aunt's malice. With a heavy heart, Sylvia realized that Edna must have sent her the gemstone, knowing its cursed nature, and hoping to see Sylvia ruined. The thought filled her with a mix of anger and sadness, but also a renewed determination to break the curse. Sylvia spent the next few days gathering the necessary items for the ritual to lift the curse. She visited local metaphysical shops, seeking out ancient symbols, incense, and rare herbs. The shopkeepers, sensing her seriousness and purpose, were more than happy to assist her. On the day of the ritual, Sylvia transformed her living room into a sacred space. She drew ancient symbols on the floor with chalk, placed candles at each corner, and hung crystals from the ceiling to create a protective barrier. In the center, she placed the blue tear of Isolde on a velvet cushion. As she prepared, she felt a sense of calm and focus. She knew what she had to do, and she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the sun set, casting an eerie glow through the windows, Sylvia began the ritual. She lit the candles, their flames flickering and casting dancing shadows on the walls. She took a deep breath, closed her eyes, and started to chant the ancient incantations she had found in her research. The room filled with a low, resonant hum as Sylvia's voice rose and fell, the words flowing from her lips with a power she hadn't known she possessed. She could feel the energy in the room shifting, becoming charged and alive. Suddenly, the gemstone began to glow, its blue light pulsating in time with Sylvia's chant. The symbols on the floor seemed to come to life, their lines glowing with an otherworldly light. Sylvia felt a presence in the room, something ancient and powerful. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady and commanding. A voice echoed in her mind, cold and malevolent. "I am the curse. I am the misfortune that follows this gemstone. I feed on the greed and desire of those who possess it." Sylvia nodded, understanding. "And what do you want?" The presence laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Sylvia's spine. "I want to be free. I want to find a worthy host, one who can control me and use my power for good." Sylvia thought for a moment, then made her decision. "Very well. I will lift the curse, but on one condition. You must promise to bring good fortune and protection to those who possess you, and to cause no more harm." The presence considered this, then agreed. Very well, I promise. Sylvia felt a surge of power, and she knew the curse was lifting. The gemstone's glow intensified, and then, with a final flash of light, it returned to its normal state, lying innocuously on the velvet cushion. Sylvia took a deep breath, her body trembling with exhaustion and relief. She had done it. She had lifted the curse from the blue tear of Isolde. She picked up the gemstone, feeling its cool surface, now free of the dark energy that had plagued it for so long. As she held it, she felt a sense of peace and contentment. The gemstone was no longer a source of misery, but a beacon of protection and good fortune. She knew she had to find a worthy home for it, someone who would use its power for good. A few days later, Sylvia received an unexpected visitor. Standing on her doorstep was her cousin Mara, a woman she had always admired for her kindness and generosity. Mara had heard about Sylvia's struggles with the gemstone and had come to offer her support. "Sylvia, I heard about your troubles with the blue tear," Mara said, her voice warm and concerned. "I wanted to see if there was anything I could do to help." Sylvia smiled, genuinely touched by her cousin's kindness. "Mara, you have no idea how much your support means to me. I think I've found a way to lift the curse, but I need someone trustworthy to take care of the gemstone now that it's free." Mara's eyes widened with surprise and excitement. "Really? I would be honored to take care of it, Sylvia. I promise to use its power for good and to protect it with my life." Sylvia handed her the gemstone, feeling a sense of closure and relief. "I know you will, Mara. You're one of the few people I trust implicitly." As Mara took the gemstone, she gasped, her eyes filling with a mix of awe and wonder. "It's amazing, Sylvia. I can feel its power, but it's different now, pure and protective." Sylvia nodded, smiling. "That's because the curse has been lifted. The blue tear is finally free to bring good fortune and protection to those who deserve it." Some days later, Sylvia was in her garden, tending to her plants. She felt a familiar presence. She turned to see her great-aunt Edna standing at the gate, her expression a mix of curiosity and resentment. "Edna," Sylvia said, her voice neutral but steady. "What brings you here?" Edna smiled, a cold and calculating expression. "I came to see how you were faring with my little gift. I must admit I didn't expect you to figure out the curse so quickly." Sylvia raised an eyebrow, unfazed by her aunt's manipulations. "And what did you expect, Edna? For me to suffer endlessly, driven mad by the gemstone's power?" Edna shrugged, her smile never wavering. "Something like that. But I must admit you've surprised me, Sylvia. You're stronger than I gave you credit for." Sylvia nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "Thank you, Edna. I take that as a compliment." Edna's expression turned serious, her eyes narrowing. "Just remember, Sylvia, power comes at a price. And sometimes that price is higher than you're willing to pay." With that, Edna turned and walked away, leaving Sylvia standing in her garden, a mix of emotions swirling within her. She knew her great-aunt's words were a warning, a reminder that her psychic journey was far from over. Scene 12. The resolution. As Sylvia watched Edna disappear down the path, she knew that Edna will strike again, but for now, Sylvia felt a sense of resolution. She had faced her greatest challenge and emerged stronger and more confident than ever. She had lifted the curse from the blue tear of Isolde and found a worthy home for it. She had reconnected with her community and explored the depths of her psychic abilities. But more than that, she had proven to herself and to those who doubted her that she was a force to be reckoned with. She was Sylvia Cross, the psychic, and she was ready to face whatever the future held. With a deep breath, she turned back to her garden, her heart light and her spirit soaring. The sun was setting, casting a warm golden glow over the town, and Sylvia knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready to face them head-on.